And I've done a lot of phone banks and for candidates, and worked at the polls, signing people in on election days, and now, oh yes, and done more than my share of surveys and polls. Now I'm putting myself on the line to fill an, how can I put it, integrity void. I plan on being a statesperson. Oops, I don't know what that says. Not a politician. I want to address your concerns the way you want them addressed. For more information, partheniaforsenate.com. Okay, I think, well, first of all, I'm not a career politician. So obviously, I don't think you have to have been a politician or been involved in it to be an effective senator. I think as a senator, first of all, and as a psychologist, I've learned how to establish rapport. You have to be able to work with people across the aisle, if you will, and that is certainly something that psychologists are supposed to be very good at. I have had leadership roles in almost everything I've been involved with. Vice president of the Philadelphia Canoe Club, vice president of one of my rowing clubs, Philadelphia Girls Rowing Club. I was elected, what do you call it, student body president during my doctoral program. So I've been in leadership positions a lot, and I've, as a practitioner, and as a psychologist and as a wellness practitioner, I know a lot about health and what people go through trying to do it from this side as opposed to the policy making side. But I'm intelligent. A average, during my doctoral program, I think I can figure it out and problem solve and get the work done. One thing I've always said, and I'll repeat for this group, is that your agenda is my agenda. And if that's always the case as a statesperson, I can't go wrong. A lot of this seems like, and again, because I'm not a career politician, a lot of this seems like common sense stuff, where if you see something's wrong, that's not what you support. If you see something's right, that's what you support. And very few people are going to ask you to support something wrong. Well, at least I hope nobody asks me to. But the whole thing is to just do what makes sense, that is good for people, fair for people, and that includes everybody. First of all, I think you, the people, would have to help me a lot, because no matter what I want to do to help in the situation with health care, if I don't have support with more Democrats there, it's going to be extremely difficult. It's all well and good to be able to, advocate for this, fight for that, say put this out there and put that out there. But to really make it happen, you need more Democrats there, and then you need to have Republicans join in, because at this point we don't have enough numbers. So I certainly would do everything I could to help healthcare progress, and in spite of whatever's going on nationally, as well as what my colleague mentioned down there. I'm sorry, I didn't remember who said it. But yes, education for the community, for people to know the best ways to get their healthcare. Oh, and yeah, but the main thing I really would need is your votes to get not only me in, but as many Democrats in as possible. So I have somebody to support me to get things done. A couple of things. As an educator, I obviously, this really is very personal to me, and I'm going to try to get all of it in this minute. I think public education is critical because everybody needs to be able to afford to go to school and get the basics. I went to Westtown School, so I know the value of a private education, but we have to do things for public schools that enable them to offer the things that charter schools offer, that attract people from the public schools. And that goes back to the issue about the distribution of funds. Education funds come from everybody across the state, so they have to be distributed equitably across the state. Now, there was also, you mentioned cyber schools. I actually was a psychologist for Agora, so I know a little bit about that. But again, the things that make cyber school attractive needs to be incorporated in public schools. And I don't have time to go into all of those things, but, and also my doctoral program included being a psychologist at charter schools. Well, I think one of the main things is partisanship. If I'm just going to vote what my party wants me to do, and I'm not going to try to compromise with others, that sort of creates a stalemate. So I think that's one of the main things. Outside of that, I guess, is a lack of voices. For example, I would be the first African-American woman in the Senate. We don't have one, and I think that's a representation that needs to be present. There's like a double double-barrel gun that comes to women of color. First, they're a woman, and then second, they're a person of color. And that is a very unique situation that needs representation in the Senate. I digress. Common sense gun laws is, again, a no-brainer. That's something we definitely have to be about. Also, background checks, again, a no-brainer. It's probably harder to take guns from people than it is to prevent them from getting access in the first place, although both have to be done almost simultaneously. But I think it may be a little bit easier to prevent people getting access than it is to take guns away from people. Mental illness, people with mental illness as well as people who don't have mental illness. There are tons on both sides that should not have access to guns. If they've been brutalizing their wife, husband, daughter, son, parent, they should not have access to guns. And again, this is, I don't know, it just seems again like no-brainer kinds of stuff. No access, especially if you've been arrested for having assaulted somebody in the past. There's a lot on both sides, you know, all over this. It seems the fears that people have when it comes to their jobs and fears that businesses have about their bottom line seem to get in the way of what it is that's important. Obviously, everybody should and wants to have clean air, clean water, toxin-free soil to get the produce from it, soil that will feed the livestock and keep them from being filled with toxins. That's a no-brainer, and you don't have to be for climate change or, you know, for that to be something important to support. But I think we have to find a way for people to learn something or transition into some other way, some other employment, so that they're not as worried about this from an employment perspective. And we also have to find a way to enable businesses to address their bottom line differently so that they don't tax us, our health, as they, you know, as they try to make their money. Okay, as your senator, I would certainly vote for anything that protects and sustains women's rights, health rights, anything related to any decision a human being wants to make about their health, they should be able to make. And women are no different. It shouldn't even be a separate issue. Everybody should have the same rights when it comes to what they do with their body. So I would vote for all of those things. And again, I would not vote for anything that undermines or in some way minimizes those rights. But again, I see this as something where you need more people. One person cannot do all of these things and make sure of all of these things by themselves. You've got to have other Democrats in there with you, so the people have to get out and vote some more people for me to have to work with to get all these things that we want done. So I think that's critical. We need to flip more seats in addition to mine so we can be successful on all these things that we feel are important. I would obviously fight for people to increase the wages, the minimum wage to 15 or better. And Ms. Fields said, oh, Mrs. Fields, sorry. As Mrs. Fields says, the benefits also are a critical part to that. Again, I think these are definitely things that nobody should want to be opposed to. I think, and again, how to make that happen, I don't think one person can do that. I think you can, you know, come up with a lot of things and maybe propose a lot of things, but it takes more than the one individual to get it done or to make it happen. And I assume this is, people have been working on this for many, many years. Hopefully, with me in the Senate, it will come to fruition. But you know, it's a no-brainer and something we certainly need to make happen so that people can survive in a reasonable way. Okay, first of all, the current incumbent is not effective because of his own actions. And the things that he did that put him in, caused him to lose favor are certainly not things that I would do. So focusing on that alone would be my initial response. I don't think any of us came to this because all of a sudden, oh, we just wanted to run for the Senate. there was a void that was created based on some behavior and the sentiments of the party. That being said, I wouldn't do any of those things, and everything else to me seems to be a no-brainer as it relates to the platform for the Democratic Party. I've already said several times that I support that 100%. So, and again, that doesn't separate us from the incumbent per se, but it's just that one item when it comes to women in the workplace, their safety, their respect in the workplace, and all of that.